Hello everyone, Sylvanus on the USN here. Today I wanted to do a kind of a similar video to something I've done before. It's a comparison between three different kinds of Striders. Now, this one is obviously not made by Strider, it's designed by Strider, but it's the ProTech SnG. But I kind of wanted to give a different overview for someone, maybe you don't love, these kind of Strider knives, but you're interested in the design overall. We'll just kind of go over the differences here. So from the top, this one here is a monkey edge frag pattern SnG in CPM 3V steel. This is aluminum scale, titanium lockside. Like most of the Striders these days, now he's starting to kind of do it like this is G10. But this is what he calls like a thick ass version. This is the same thickness as an SMF, 0.187. It has the same blade length and profile of the SnG, but it is the same thickness as an SMF. As such, the body is also the same thickness as an SMF. Then this one is your ProTech SnG, made by ProTech Knives, designed by Mick Strider. This one is also really thick, but it has a different blade thickness. All of these have three different blade thicknesses. This one is the thinnest at 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch thick. This one's 3/16. And it's 154 cm steel, which is ProTech uses a lot of that on their knives. It has a different grind profile. You can see that this one is kind of like a high flat saber, whereas this one is like a lower grind, lower saber, but still a saber grind. This one obviously automatic. This one is the blacked out version. Has pretty much the same overall ergonomics, same clip, same everything. The blade profile is ever so slightly different. Let me wipe this off. It's hard because the knives are cold, my hands are hot. They get like that steam on them. A little bit of a different profile in the way that the stop pin is on each of these, but it has a really good access to the button. And you can see it's a PR4, serial number 481 on this one. ProTech USA, 154 cm. I do like this. I have carried it quite a bit. Fires nice and hard like all ProTechs do. But, and then the next one, this is just your standard SnG. This is what you'll see coming out of Strider on a normal, regular, everyday basis whenever they do drops. This is the style that they've been dropping recently. So this is a Gunner Grip G10 with titanium lockside, and this is a 0.165 thickness, I believe. And you do have that upper swedge. And this one in particular is PSF 27. Strider cycles through a few different steels. I've seen this one in CPM 154. They used to do them in S30V. I've seen D2, I've seen PD1. This is kind of what they're doing now, I think. I don't know if the most recent ones have been in PSF 27 or not. They might be CPM 154. But really, really good profile. This is actually a really, really nicely ground knife. For people that think that Striders can't cut, this knife is ground supremely thin behind the edge. It's kind of hard to capture. It's very thin behind the edge if that's your thing. I mean, you look at the tip, if I can get it in focus, it's a really fine tip. And if you're looking at something like the ProTech SnG, or I'm sorry, the ProTech Malibu, it's kind of hard to tell, but the Malibu is actually thicker behind the edge than the Strider is. It's about the same up here. It's definitely thicker back here. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is thicker. So Striders, especially your full flat ground or the close to full flat ground Striders, they are really, really well done. So really the difference is, like I said, if I can get this all in frame, we'll try to do this in order of thickness here. You can see that there's a marked difference in all the thicknesses. 1/8 starting on the left, so 0.125, then 0.165, and then 0.187. And there have been runs of standard production models that have been quote unquote thick ass, is what they call this. But normally you're going to see this. This is the standard SnG. If we're looking at thicknesses overall, when it comes to handles, you can see that the monkey edge is much thicker. And it's because of the thicker blade. It needs to have a wider body so it can accommodate that blade. But that's why I like this one more, is just because it gives you it feels my hand a little bit better than this one does. But I do like the other one too. Obviously the construction is a little bit different on these. This one doesn't have these little barrels, threaded barrels on it. This one actually mills it's tapped right into the scale. So it's steel going into aluminum. This one is steel going into steel. This is similar to how the older SnGs and SMFs were, in that there was a threaded collar on this side, but no longer. They have these steel spacers, or I'm sorry, these steel threaded barrels, and that's how they go. I think it looks really nice and clean on this side. Same bolt pivot. You need the spanner tool on one side, and then an Allen key on the other. As far as the lock sides are pretty much identical, other than this one's a little bit more scratched up. But you have T10 body screws, T10 clip screws, and a T8 LBS screw, which is awesome. They used to be T6s. Sometimes they would get a little bit stripped out, but they've done some quality improvement. You know, Mick is always looking at his designs and making them a little bit better every generation. So really easy to take apart, really easy to put back together. You really only need the spanner screw or the spanner tool one time. And that's to kind of break it the first time you take it apart. After that, it's almost, you can just take it apart with the Allen key. You can hold it on one side with your fingernail and twist it. Unless you put Loctite on it, which is, some people do that. I haven't had one loosen up. The newer ones are just really, the fit and finish on it is pretty excellent. You can see it's a really nice blasted pattern. You have your black oxide stripes. They completely coat the blade in black oxide, and then they'll just take a little, like a pen, and then they'll just make the pattern in it. Or it might be done by machine. It used to be done by hand, but I'm not sure how they do it these days. But beautiful grinds on it, nice and thin behind the edge. It would be a really good slicer, I think, for the thickness. Obviously, this isn't going to be, like a traditional GEC or anything when it comes to cutting, but for the thickness, you expect some pretty good performance. Looking at stop pins, you can see that this one is a little bit larger and this one is a little bit smaller. And it also is like really radius at the top. You can see it's just nice and smooth and radius. And it doesn't make contact here. It's not supposed to, but it makes contact here with the titanium. And this one just a little bit wider. It's just the stop pins have gone through different generations. They used to be a lot bigger than this too. But everything engages the exact same. The stop pin doesn't contact the aluminum on this one either. This one is a little bit different. It obviously contacts both sides just because of the design. It needs to, because it flies out with such crazy force. I mean, Protec's just, it's crazy how hard they fire. And this one has actually been messed with quite a bit, and it still fires really hard. The difference is here, obviously this is an automatic, but it has the same T10 body screws. This one has a 1/16 inch Allen key right here. But the pivot this is a press fit pivot. It doesn't spin. And you have a T10 clip screw. Same clip, same ride height. Just automatic. It is nice and thin. If you're looking for an SnG, you really like the design, but you don't like the thicker blades, this is just as thin, I believe, as a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Obviously, it's not full flat ground like the Paramilitary 2, but it is the same thickness. And it is, I mean, it's kind of thick behind the edge, but it's got a nice tip on it. A little bit more robust than you might see on a PM2 or a military or a Para 3. But it's designed to be a little bit tougher. Really nice grip. All Striders have really nice grips on them. You have this choked up grip on it. You can also, with the jimping up here, kind of hold it, and it kind of fits perfectly in the hand like this. You can see index finger goes here, and this point on the handle fits right where my thumb bends in. So it just, and then a lot of pressure is put here down. So if I were to have to pierce into something, again, hard plastic, cardboard, something along those lines, you're piercing in, a lot of the force is put directly into your palm. And as well as the good jimping, which isn't overly aggressive, but it works. It grips your hand in there really good. You know, I wouldn't carve a spoon with any of these because the texturing, especially on this one, is very, very rough. I mean, this is meant to be used with gloves in a more heavy-duty scenario. And this one, even though it is kind of, it looks like it's really sharp and blocky, it's actually not. Like if you squeeze into it like that, you know, it'll make prints in my hand, but it's actually not as bad as you might think. And as far as the clips go, all of these are right on a flat piece of metal. You know, these two are titanium here. This one's aluminum, but slides right in and out of your pocket, no problem. You can adjust the clip tension, of course. I like mine really tight. I don't want them to fall out. But overall, they're pretty much the same in overall size. Just really, really well designed. For me, I consider these like mid-size folders. Some people would classify this as a big folder. Like I said, 3.5-inch blade, but I consider them medium-ish. I don't know if there's really any other differences that really matter here. I do like the G10. This is kind of a more old school feel. The old school ones were G10. There is no liner in the G10 side. It's just one milled piece that's attached with these threaded barrels. Still super, super strong. Like, I've never seen a Strider break at the handle. Of course, you could do that if you were being stupid with it. Any knife can break. But I've never seen a Strider break at the handle, ever. Again, the newer ones, he seems to be going back to G10. There was, for a time, a lot of aluminum ones out there. But this one is my favorite. This one is you can see, it's been carried and used and sharpened. And, I mean, the coating holds up really well. I'm not sure if this is a black oxide or a DLC or what it might be. But even for the thickness, the tip is relatively thin. It's fine, but not delicate. And even though it's a thick blade, you can see, again, pretty thin behind the edge. At least as thin behind the edge as the Malibu. And just a really good traction pattern on it. Anyway, I think that's about it, guys. If you guys have any questions or you want some more information, I'm happy to answer in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Have a good day.